yes, Olive is the best, and I do want her and Ben to have a play date someday.
Ben is incredible as well. I thoroughly enjoyed meeting him. For those that don't know, Ben is Joey's pit bull, and Olive is my pit bull, and pit bull friends for life. Am I right? Am I right?
Yeah. So every time Ben sees Cam, Ben like forgets that he knows who Cam is for like 30 seconds. Then he's like, "Oh, sorry, yeah, that's right.
My bad.
We're fine with each other."
We got a Snoot. Hello, Snoot. Nope. Okay.
Oh,
Nope. Okay. So
no Snoop.
Olive will show her face at some point during this Twitch podcast live situation, but at the moment, she is very much cuddled and content, like flat on my lap. So
Love.
this is our general winter.
The SAG after strike is over, so she can't blame that. Like she's not sitting in solidarity with SAG AFTRA. It's done.
God.
Yes. Hi, mamas. I know it's a lazy Sunday. It is rainy and gray and moody. And so we're just going to sit under blankets and cuddle our pets and
Yes.
craft. And
Yes.
craft it.
Yes.
Yeah.
I spent hours this morning with Barba, who I think Joey was about to impart the lore of.
Yeah, there is cat lore.
Just cat lore. Yeah, so there was the litter on her property from the feral, like the one feral that was not fixed. And so they were all given Law and Order SVU names. And I went out to go check out. I was like, I could use a cat. Why not? And you know, as you do. And I picked up the one named ADA Rafael Barba, and immediately I was just like, this is my cat. Like he just like ragdolled in my hands and like ridiculous. And to this day, this man would let me do anything to him. Like I have nearly like rolled over and like squashed him, and he makes nary a peep. He is just like, my dad has said this is what is right, therefore this is what is right.
This is what is right.
Meanwhile, Barba's relatives live in my garage and are just like killing mice for fun.
As they should.
Should. Right. But they were none of them were like friendly enough to go anywhere. So they just have to stay in the garage.
I see.
And now apparently people in my house do pet them, but I'm not one. They won't let me.
One. Well, I am personally not a cat person. I'm sorry to like bust everyone's bubble, but I do very much agree that like cats are needed for mice situations. And I actually, in what year was it? 2016, 2017, lived in like a mouse infested apartment. And like, I could have used some cats because in the year and a half that I lived there, I ended up killing and trapping upwards of like 51 mice.
Yeah, about right.
It's not great. It was not a great experience. So if I was to have a cat, that would have been the time of life. But
Barba is not a good mouser. Just 2 nights ago, in fact, I observed him trying and failing to kill a mouse in my room. And I was like, thank you. I love that now that I know there is a mouse, and also that this mouse has no natural predators, because you are useless. And all Dolly, my other cat, does is psychologically torture the mice. She'll never actually deal
Dolly.
the killing blow. She's like, I'm just gonna make you live in fear. Like,
oh my.
He's a sociopath, and also perfect. Yeah.
He's pretty good.
Yeah. The only one capable is Denny's 13-year-old cat, Bubba, who will then proceed to eat the mouse in a single gulp. And I don't think that's good either. So I don't want any of these outcomes.
No, because you don't know if like, I mean, you have a house that is attached to other houses. You don't know if that mouse has eaten poison. Like, it's just not.
we have poison out.
Yeah,
And,
that's
like they're supposed to drive them like outwards, and then they like, I don't know, experience mouse death. But I'm just
Obviously.
right, like you do. But I had also never seen a cat eat a mouse in one fell gulp before in my life. And
Nope.
and neither have I. I have seen them maim and gore.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
single bite. Sir?
I don't know. Cats are perfect killing machines. Like that is
True.
something to keep in mind, that no matter how small the cat, they are perfect killing machines.
Just designed.
It is their job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Created to kill.
So, quick introduction in case anyone got on at all. I see one little eyeball at the top of that thing, but it's okay because this will be on YouTube anyhow. This is the monthly Purling Proletariat webcast with Cam, Joey, and we have Kayla from Harrisburg's very own Little Loopy. Kayla, can you tell us a little bit about what brought you into the world of fiber arts and what you do?
Heavens to Betsy. Well, what a question. Hey, Joey. Nice to see you. Cam, this is so fun. Hi, world. I'm Kayla. I am the Instagram handle littleloopy_PA, and I am an independent yarn dyer here in central Pennsylvania. I've been living in Harrisburg, officially as an adult for 15-ish years. However, I did do college in the area, but I grew up in upstate New York. So, what got me into the fiber arts? Well, I grew up watching my mom crochet, and of course, Joey and I share extended relatives who live in Uniontown, Pennsylvania, which is in the Pittsburgh region.
I'm almost 100% sure we're probably related somehow. I'm related.
Surprised. There's a lot of Uniontown.
All of them out there.
But we just say Pittsburgh because it's easier to understand Pittsburgh. And so like one does in the Uniontown region, like you go to anyone's house and there's just like crocheted items left and right everywhere. So it's been an element of my life for quite some time. So as an adult, when my best friend at the time got pregnant, I was like, I'm going to make her a baby blanket, which is, as we know now, like that's a huge project to get started on as a beginner. And like, it's great heart behind it. And like, it was not a baby blanket. It was a baby triangle. And so, there's things to learn. And so I kind of started this thing back in 2017 and I made like just straight up blankets, baby blankets and adult throws, which is all in all not the best business model, but it was something for me to do. It was fun and it kept my hands busy. And so there. Then about last November, so we're talking a year now, I got Instagrammed, the algorithm started feeding me all of the things about dyeing yarn, how to do so, YouTube tutorials, this and that. And I asked for my first yarn dyeing set kit for Christmas, and the rest is history. So doing the fiber arts thing. Who knew?
Love. We love a full circle moment.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if I recall correctly, I think we all went to the same college.
Aha.
You're kidding.
Yeah, because you went to Messiah too, didn't you?
I did. Cam, are you a Messiah person as well?
Absolutely.
Hallelujah.
We all have a lot to unpack.
Well, and my follow-up question is, where in upstate New York?
Sure. I spent most of my childhood in Rochester, New York. So that meant that we couldn't actually watch the Pittsburgh Steelers on Sundays. We were forced to watch the losing Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, I'm sorry for you.
Although I do have a tender spot in my heart for them because they are obviously doing better now than they did during my childhood. So good for them.
Right. Yeah.
So
I grew up just north of Syracuse, actually. So when you said upstate New York, I was like,
It could be so many places.
Right, I know. Literally, people are like, "Oh, yes, 10 minutes north of the city proper, upstate New York." I'm like,
Right.
"Don't."
New York is
Upstate
actually
New York, Long Island.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
who knew? Who
God.
You'll have to forgive me, y'all. I am getting this huge knot out of the yarn that I have here, which is, we all know, like half the battle of
Oh.
fiber arts, right? Like you're actually
Yes.
crocheting, knitting, and then you're also untangling knots.
I also very foolishly made the creative choice, right? To do my nails that is not conducive
Ooh.
to embroidery and trying to like split threads.
No.
Like not doing great. So
You should drill an embroidery needle like into your nail.
the nail.
You can just like,
Oh my God.
Yikes.
It also doubles as a self-defense weapon.
that is true. That is true.
So Cam, what is it that you're working on today? Embroidery something?
Yeah, so it is a frequently abandoned project, which is kind of my
We all have.
MO, right? Yeah, just generally I feel with crafting. What I really love about the initiative that Joey took to be like, let's do this, is that it holds me accountable to some form of like intentional craft time. So for the third month in a row, I am working on my God Loves Fags patch.
Yes.
All I have so far is just God.
You're doing great. Keep it up. Hand on my heart, you are doing great.
It's a process that's,
As all crafts are,
right.
it's really good for the human soul to craft. That's my theology.
I literally, I was just talking about process theology with a friend last night, and I'm like, crafting feels very, very much like a part of that, of like, it's a co-creation. Salvation is not a singular event. It is an ongoing, collaborative, mutual experience.
Sorry, as I swoon over here. Tell me more. And when Joey was like, "Yeah, you want to be our guest?" I'm like, "Hell yeah!" We're going to talk about what was the official theme of today: gifting and crafting, or like the gift of
crafting is a gift to yourself. Creating is a gift to yourself.
It just made me think of, as we are all Messiah College graduates, you may be familiar with the course that is mandated for every freshman there at Messiah. It is, and for those that don't know, every freshman at Messiah is mandated to take a course called Created and Called for Community.
I have a great about that.
We all have great CCC stories.
We all have a story about Created and Called for Community. But it really genuinely just had me thinking of, because the climax of the, is that the word I can use? The climax of this course.
Yeah. The word you're going to use, that's for sure.
The word I'm going to use is the notion that there was such freedom in everybody creating a project of some kind of what community or creation meant to them. And honestly, like as an educator, I think that's a beautiful thing. Give kids an option for open-endedness. Give them opportunities for their own creativity to come in, for them to like expand their own thinking in their own ways, things of the like. And I think that's truly one of the only times I, as a student, has ever had that opportunity to do so. So created and called, but I do also recall, don't get me wrong, community is great. And that is a huge part of who I am as Little Loopy. Like it's this notion of, you don't do fiber arts. I mean, you can, and sometimes you do fiber arts like alone in the corner, and that's fine. But when you think about the history of fiber arts and the history of just people crafting and threading and wooling and spinning for thousands and thousands of years. That's been done as community. And it's fucking beautiful, you know?
Yeah.
We're still doing it.
Well, that for the first thing I want to say is that is ultimately what I'm trying to do, and what Cam and I are trying to do through the Purling Proletariat thing is create a little more community around this and have it be virtually, because there are just I mean, the recently opened Discord, there are people in there that for one reason or another cannot get out to a knit night, be it, or get to a knit night close to any of us. So it's just nice to be able to have that. And actually, I'm going to save that thought for a secondary moment, but that was created and called for community was the first place. Like these,
yes, please tell me. I'm on the edge of my seat.
These spaces can make you, these spaces can really foster important learning too, because that was the first place I ever read Letter from Birmingham Jail, and that pretty much changed my outlook on. I mean, not that I had a negative outlook of Martin Luther King. Like I have some pretty backwards relatives, but not that backward. But it basically it just opened up my world. And the thing I always loved about CCC is it was an easy A, and my husband, Mr. Messiah College himself, got a C in that class. So to him.
That is
I love that.
spectacular.
I love that. Yeah. I'm thinking back to, and I say this because I actually recently came across it. So my undergrad at Messiah College was music education. I did end up teaching music for several years, and music has always been a part of me. And actually what I ended up doing was I ended up writing a song. And I recall recording it in the like recital hall at Messiah on, the piano there. And it was just this entire concept of like creation, what things sounded like, and in just using the super nerdy, like perfect, there's in music, there's like perfect intervals and imperfect and diminished and all that. So like using perfect things. And then as the fall of man happens, nothing's perfect anymore and the sounds are off, but like it's still beautiful and still somewhat resembles what was perfect originally. And I'm sitting here, oh God, what year was that? That was 2007. And I'm like, damn, Kayla, you pretty cool. Like, just that something that I had done can still speak. However, I don't want to do the math on how long ago that was, but like something that I had done can still speak to today. And I feel like you can find that too with like fiber crafts or whatever. Like, oh my God, this was made like, I was just at my grandma's over Thanksgiving and she pulled out this Afghan that I've never seen before in my life. And it was made in the 1950s. And I'm like, dang, this is so cool that this art can like withstand time and just be here and enjoy it. And even though it was made by my great grandmother, who I never actually met, like I can still enjoy it. You know what I mean?
Oh, I
see you nodding along a lot, Cam. Tell me.
Yeah. I recently came across my creation project,
Nice.
which is unfortunately memorialized on my Facebook because it also was a song that I wrote.
Who are you? Let's
right. I know. I'm like, how are we not already best friends? So let's get that out of the way.
okay.
Right. But it was much more, I want to say like cringy, contemporary, like worshipy style. And
someday I'll release the religious trauma episode from the vault, and like all of this will be
the vault.
Yeah, yes. That's locked away for the time being. Though we'll open that up when we all feel good about it again.
Yeah, right. Oh, good Lord.
Deep breath. Inhale, exhale.
Yeah. Oh, love that. Love a grounding practice. Um, crafting is embodiment. Am I right?
Yeah. Tell me about it, Olive. Yeah.
As I'm just like thinking about like the emotional escalation of being like, oh God, my former selves. And then being like, all right, center ground, be connected to the moment, to the physical presence, to the yeah. So it's all a process. It's all a process.
Amen to that.
That it is.
We're all yes, as we all are.
That it is all a process. Yeah. I don't know. My just be forewarned, my brain is not braining. The not being able to hear out of my one ear is like very, very disorienting.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it would
yeah.
be.
A bit off balancing, not centered.
I have no balance as it is, so like that's not significantly different.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna stumble about anyhow.
That's fun. just like Lucille 2 of Arrested Development.
Am I turning into Lucille too? Is that who I'm becoming?
God, I hope so. That is honestly something to aspire to. Liza Minnelli? Who
It
wouldn't?
is. Yeah. Talk about trauma.
Oh boy.
Lots of it. No, so what I was going to say before is that the last time we were together, we had Gabe Darling on from the Garden Collective, and they talked about using social media more as a method of connection and community as opposed to competition. And I wanted to ask you, Kayla, do you find that as an artist like to be a really difficult part of Instagram and social media, the algorithm?
As far as creating community or competition?
I really just like where is it driving you? Like what do you feel Instagram's MO is for their own benefit?
Oof. On that part, I have not a blessed clue. However, I will say for me, again, something that I love and aspire to is this element of community. So, obviously not happening today because I'm doing this with y'all. I've started this feature of like community Sundays to in doing my own research on my own account, like Sunday is the day that I get the most views. I don't know why when it comes to like my Instagram stories. So I thought to myself, why can't I take this and make something good from it? Why can't I take the platform that I have and make connections? So I've started doing these community Sundays that feature someone in my community that either I know in person or that I respect as an artist, so that other people who may not be connected to them may get connected from them. And then we can just like fuel for the goodness of art and creativity and who each other are as human beings. It's been slow going, but that's been one of the fun things this year in the sense that, like, you know, in January, I had no idea that my little small business would explode to the way that it has. And so, like, to start with, I don't know, 50 something followers in January, and now we're over 1,000. I have not gone viral, and that's okay. In the sense that, like, I also see lots of people that have gone viral and it like plagues them afterwards. Then there's this expectation, you got to keep up with things. You get people that follow you that aren't necessarily customers. And you get the likes, but it feeds the algorithm. But like, at what level of community does that really serve as far as like authentic relationships and things like that? So, I would much rather just do things authentically and not worry about numbers. And so far, I think it's been working. I'll check with my accountant at the end of the month. But on the whole, yeah. And when I think about, And it's interesting too, because sometimes like when I think about individuals who are not necessarily Pennsylvania based, I don't always think of them as their first names. I think of them as their Instagram handles.
Mhm.
But it's also this notion of I know that I can jump to any Instagram message or what have you. And there's always that dialogue. Like, for example, I unfortunately happened to experience a bit of food poisoning, I believe, recently. And I had to drop a show yesterday. I couldn't attend. And just the love and like not appreciation, but just like, hey, get better soon. Like just quick words from people across the country. I'm like, gee, thanks. Not that you would have come to my show anyway, but like, thanks for the well wishes. Does that answer your question?
No, it does.
Okay.
It's nice to hear, especially in the like weird isolating era of tech that we're in. It's so refreshing to hear about social media being used for something good.
Mhm.
And to me, that's good. You know, there's connection there. You know, it's not just people aren't just like taking in content constantly. They feel a connection to you. It's not necessarily your videos, because if it was just your videos, they wouldn't, you know, be saying get well soon.
Right. And like that's again part of I had posted recently. It's very important to me that anytime someone interacts with me, that I acknowledge that interaction or react back to them in the sense, you know, if somebody shares a reel of mine, I love to say, like, hey, thank you for the share, or oh, I'm so glad you liked this. But Instagram doesn't always notify me that people share my stuff. And so then I feel terrible if I miss it. Not that I always know that I miss it. So um, I had just recently said, like, hey, if you share my stuff, make sure that you tag me so that I can, you know, acknowledge you back and thank you for your support, you know, the whole 9 yards. Yeah. I will say over the summer, there's a woman uh whose Instagram is I think it's entitled like the Crochetpreneur, and it's all about like building a crochet small business. And she had like a summertime boot camp situation that I subscribed to for a week, and it involved just a simple like networking thing every night on Zoom for like 1 hour. And it was kind of like blind dating because you'd be put in like a breakout room with strangers and be like, "Hi, I'm Kayla. Here's 3 quick facts." And then like everybody like had their turn and you know, just dialogue went in different ways. But it was just also a really incredible opportunity to meet people not only just from the United States, but from Canada and from Europe and from Texas. Not that Texas isn't in the United States, but just
Texas is like its own place. Let's be honest.
They've tried many
Texas is
times
its own
to
country.
not be part of the United States.
that's also
So,
true.
you know.
So, you know, just to know that there are other like-minded people out there, that sense of building community through technology, kind of like how we were all forced to do during COVID, but now that we're back to real life with real relationships, that technical online relationship building can still be a thing. And it doesn't mean that it's less than, it's just different. And it still fulfills that relationship void that maybe many of us still feel like we have. So, that's my 2 cents. Not that I actually went to any kind of school for business. I say that I got my my business degree from Google and YouTube.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean,
There's still a lot to learn, a lot to learn. But I think the biggest value is authenticity.
Yeah. And see, this actually ties into something I was texting Cam about yesterday, because my husband, also a Messiah College graduate, is an accountant. And we were discussing it. It had occurred to me yesterday for the first time, because there is, we're actually, all three of us are in helping professions as well.
Okay.
And it had occurred, I make significantly less money than him, always have, and probably always will, until the inevitable robot and AI uprising, in which case his job will be irrelevant and mine will still be necessary. And just like making things with your hands is still going to be necessary, there's just a certain element that robots and AI and tech are not going to be able to do.
This is true.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, oh, for sure. I mean, when you talk about being a therapist, like, no way could you ever entrust an AI to do that. I mean, that's the number one point of the helping profession when it, like, relationship building. You can't build a relationship with a computer.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and if X, aka former Twitter, is any indication, the AI tends to radicalize in really unfortunate ways. So I don't know that AI would be trying to solve any problems in like a helpful or harmless way. I kind of worry what AI might tell someone to do.
The liability for that, like the whole like do no harm thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's a lot of potential for wrong.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Cam, that means you're in the, I am familiar with what Joey does, but I'm unfamiliar with how you are in the helping profession.
Real quick, Kayla, I will say, in order to keep our lives a little separate, we started by introducing what we do, like Ken from the Barbie movie, where I would say, like, so basically Ken's whole shtick is that he's not a lifeguard, he's just beach.
His job is beach.
His job is beach. So I said my job, I guess, is technically school.
Okay, cool.
And so Cam may or may not go that direction. Just
At the current moment, my job is basically teams, which is unfortunate. But prior to having a little bit more of the like administrative side of things, I was working more frequently in like children's services. So different levels of care. I've done IBHS and therapeutic after school, whatever. Like my education is an MSW. So if that gives a little bit of a background on the therapeutic
I love MSW. Yep.
Yeah, love. I would say about 90% of my decision to immediately pursue my MSW, maybe not 90, that's a pretty high percent. A big percent of my decision to immediately go on to pursue an MSW was so that I could say when people asked where I went to school, that it was somewhere respectable. So so now when people ask me where I went to school, I go, oh, I got my master's at Temple.
Okay. That's what do you not what's the word I'm looking for? We call that a reframe.
Yeah, love it.
So great. All right.
Yeah. Kayla, I don't know about you, but I know that I've had the experience when I tell people where I went to undergrad, they're just immediately confused. Like, really?
Well, because of the person that you are today, and they're just like, how did you go there? But
they made me that way.
It's right.
My fault entirely that I'm like this.
Genuinely.
So I will say that my experience at our alma mater was actually incredibly positive. Considering, I think, the background from which I came, Messiah was incredibly liberal. And that was actually genuinely really good for me. A lot of I don't want to make this the religious trauma episode by any means, but I think a lot of my own processing and deconstruction actually came in my early 20s after college, throughout grad school, and a little bit after grad school. So yeah, but I definitely agree in watching how things have shifted there. I'm like, I don't know if I would necessarily like being there now. Like, because again, like with all things, places, organizations change over time.
Yeah.
And so I think for me, it was what I needed when I needed it. but I also don't want to discount the harm that it has done for many a person, several of my close friends included. So, oh.
No, that's valid, and I know you and I, Cam, have talked about there are good things that we got from there, like actually in terms of the theological aspects, it worked out pretty well, and like the theology, Richard Crane's just the man, and
Oh my God,
right.
Obsessed.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Pause, because I had no idea in the sense that like I was this little music ed nerd, and in music ed world, like it's very small. I had a graduating class of 13. I was with these same 13 people. So when you go to a gen ed class, aka like theology that everyone has to take, you're in a class of like 50. And I'm like, this is so not my norm. But I was 100% that girl that like always had their hand up asking questions, and like you could see everyone in the back room like rolling their eyes and like, oh, not this girl again. But I was like,
you got all your credit though. You got all your credit that way, because I remember you could split credit. You could like do written stuff or have class participation.
oh, I don't remember that.
Is that what? Oh, that wasn't everyone's thing. So sorry. I just thought that was a cool aspect. So that's how you got your credit.
Well, so be it. And I actually was going through some paperwork, and I found a paper that I had written for theology, and he like wrote back on, he's like, I just love your participation in class. You ask really great questions. And I'm sitting here now being like, I don't remember what the fuck I asked. But I remember being so engaged at like a heart level during those times that like, yeah, it's good stuff. It's good stuff.
Yeah. This, I am fairly certain that this man was maybe the only professor at Messiah that clocked my relationship with a woman and was just like extremely like, because we would sit in the like little rooms in Boyer and just like do work, because we were both social work majors, which was also a very small major.
Yeah.
And so, you know, we would just be sitting in Boyer in their little like rooms on the end, and he would just be walking by and be like, oh, hey, at the time, you know, ladies, like, how are we doing? But just very like it was like a knowing, you know, and I'm just like,
he was trying to be like friendly neighbor man about it. Like, hello, nice to see you.
Yeah. And I remember having, oh, sorry.
But I'm just saying, like, that being seen, like, just doesn't always happen. And so that's it's striking when it does.
Yeah. Yeah. And that being seen is not always being safe. I like I am in this like trans men or trans mask like over 30 online group that Joey actually is the one who like pointed out to me. So thank you, because it's been amazing.
I'm so glad.
I love it so much. But we were just talking about like with the passage of Trans Day of Remembrance, the feelings that come up around like most often when our community gets mainstream attention, it's focused around our like shared trauma and like our death and like violence done to us. Or on the other hand, there's like the Trans Day of Visibility, where it's like, what does being visible do for me when by being clocked I can, you know, lose a job, lose a home, lose the ability to like raise children? You know, what does being visible do for me? Like, it doesn't serve me. It serves, you know, people who need a face to sympathize with, to consider me a person. And so the you know, act of like in that environment where so much of that, like last year I was there, was like, let me just sneak around and like do my little like, ooh, secret gay stuff. And then the not only like being known, but being like affirmed, and with not in words, but it just, yeah, I don't know. Like, that was great and beautiful.
We could have a whole therapy session on being seen. And it's a vulnerable place to be.
Yeah.
So vulnerable. Sorry, when your yarn gets caught on your dog's paw. All right.
Oh, he just wants to help.
It's all good. Hi, Mama.
She just wants to participate.
Say hi. Say hi, everybody.
Oh, no.
She's
here, I promise. She's here. Perfect.
I love her. It's funny though, whenever she comes into the shop, because I do feel like I go to Olive and then I'm like, yes, and hello to you too, Kayla.
And
You're
hi.
also here.
Okay, it's fine. It's one of those situations where obviously I have never birthed a child. It's not anywhere in the plans for the future, but it's this notion of like, she is my child. And true millennial right there. And so the fact that she is getting the love, I vicariously receive that love because I take such pride in her.
Yeah. I fully believe that Barba believes that I birthed him.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure Barbara saw you and was like, it all makes sense. Of course, that's where I came from. Of course. Because everyone else, he's kind of like, fuck you. No, don't touch me. I'm scared.
Who are you?
Belong to daddy.
Not me transing my cat's gender. Well, when he was discovered, the assumption upon whatever inspection he would allow to occur was,
which was minimal.
Yeah. So the suspicion was that he was a boy, and so it wasn't until months later when actually Joey took him to his first vet visit on my behalf because I got COVID, and so we did a little like air chamber lock exchange of the cat.
That was hilarious.
Wow. I like went down in a mask, put the cat carrier down, went upstairs, closed the door at the top of the stairs. Joey opened the bottom of the stairs, took the cat out. But at this vet appointment, it was discovered that my boy does in fact have a vagina.
Surprise.
And I was like, you know what? Cats
Surprise.
don't know what pronouns are. They don't know what gender is.
It's true.
He's still a little baby boy.
I feel like this is a story I've told, but Claire, that also sometimes comes to the yarn store, is a doctor and really specializes in gender affirming care for adolescents and youth. And she was at the park the one day with her dog, and a small child. Now Claire also has a kid, so like this was coming from a totally genuine place. But a child came up and asked if her dog was a girl or a boy, and Claire went, animals don't experience gender. So animals don't experience gender.
Oh my God.
Barba is whoever Barba is.
That's, yeah. Barba, literally, Barba's gender identity is whatever dad says is okay. Like, that's his life. His existence is so antithetical to what your typical cat experiences. This man has no sense of identity that I did not give to him.
Meanwhile, Dolly is like, I'm my own person.
Dolly is like, I created the world.
Yeah.
Which
is hilarious too, because Dolly is the friendly, like what you would consider to be the friendlier of the two cats.
Yeah.
Like Dolly will come say hi and then be gone.
Yeah.
Little world.
I was just thinking the other day about how how I have truly raised two cats in my image. Dolly is my God complex, and Barba is my anxiously attached, trauma informed experience.
These are
Halters,
Genuine,
but cats.
genuinely.
There you go.
Take that one to therapy.
Ooh.
Not, I'm,
Yeah.
it's been months and I have not gotten over the fact that I went on one single solitary date with a person who told me that I had attachment issues with my cats and that was a red flag. And I was like, are you or
I would
are you
consider
not
that
a
a green flag.
lesbian?
Oh my. Okay. So there's lots to unpack there. Okay. 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 So I don't even know where to start with that one. But
There's
okay.
not a we'll go back to Messiah fall 2012.
Well,
That's my guesstimate.
what I was going to say is when it comes to therapists and therapies, I don't know what book well, Jerry, I know what kind of books you're into, but one of my favorite things to actually read is like therapist books in the sense like where they talk about their clients. Because it's so affirming that like there's other crazier shit out there that's not mine. So it's all, you know. Oh,
You want to know what you don't want to hear from a therapist in your therapist's office?
which is
I have never heard that before.
Oh God, that is not good.
No one has ever said that to me before.
Yeah.
You don't want to hear that.
not really a compliment. It's not really a medal. Is that the book that I think it is?
Well, listen, I just wanted to say that I'm not just about otherworldly smut. I also do fancy myself a little young occasionally.
Good for you. I love it. I love it so much.
Oh God.
Oh, it's good stuff. No, I
So
think
oh no, go ahead.
I was gonna say it all started in grad school. One of my professors, because I was kind of a super nerd, it was like Christmas break, and I was like, "So, is there any like extra reading you could like suggest for me? Because I'm gonna like have time over break." And genuinely, like I love to read books, and so whatever. And he offered, I forget his first name, but Yalom is the last name, and he's written a ton of books. But one of the ones, oh sorry, girl, one of the books, it was basically like 12 chapters, and each chapter was a certain client and like how he handled it and things like that. And I just really loved it. Just hearing other people's stories and how he dealt with different people. And turns out there's a whole genre of books out there like that. And it's really good. So in case people are looking for new genres of books to get in, there's one called The Men on My Couch, written by a female therapist working with like male sex addicts. Very interesting. Of course, like one of the biggest ones is Maybe You Should Talk to Someone by Lori Gottlieb. Can we just? I don't know if either of you have read that, but it's pretty awesome. Okay. Anyways.
I have not. We actually we had a stream planned that didn't get to happen, but we were going to do that on DBT and the creator of DBT and how really we could tie that into this too. That creation was truly a gift for her, for the creator. It was a gift for herself because Marcia had a string of institutionalizations. Oh God, where'd Cam go? Oh, hold on. I don't know. I lost Cam. There we go.
Okay.
You're back. Okay.
I was like, not when we're talking about Marsha.
I know. So Marsha had a string of Marsha Linehan had a string of institutionalizations and was basically told that she had untreatable mental illness. And she went, I'll show you untreatable. I'll make my own therapy. And she did. And yeah, that's why she's amazing. And I am forever in love with DBT just as a life concept, because when in my week am I not saying to myself, two things can be true?
Two things
Here.
can be true.
Oh, two things can be true. That is true.
Right?
Holding
but once
both.
I get into like three, I'm like, you're pushing it, life. I don't know.
The both and, it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot to hold, which is why so many people can't hold both and.
Yes.
So I understandably, when it becomes three,
right,
that's when we say too much. but back it up now. But we can do two. It's okay. So yeah, for sure.
Do you, Joey, was that I sent you a reel, was it yesterday or the day before, that was like different therapists and their modalities dealing with like landlord and the somatic therapist was like, where do you feel that insatiable greed in your body? And the DBT therapist was like, anytime that you think about committing the brutal act of unhousing someone, just dunk your face in a tub of cold water and leave it there for as long as you need to. Maybe longer than you think you can.
That's great.
You know what?
Really great.
Especially working in school where there are minor children who have impulse control issues for developmentally appropriate and inappropriate reasons. That can be so good though. DBT is so good for them sometimes, because it's like, you're not ready on a number of levels to communicate like why this feeling is, but maybe we can stop the harmful from happening, and you can just like have a freaking snack or something instead.
Listen, can we just
punching your classmate in the face?
Can we just talk about basic needs? Like, truly.
Yes.
And my job is also school, different school than Joey, different venues than Joey, different official job titles than Joey, but still school. And it is beyond me how we put these expectations and demands on children continuously for 7.5 hours a day and get so offended that they do not comply when their fucking basic needs are not being met. They are wearing underwear that they peed in last night and they didn't change. Their shoes are covered in cat urine and they didn't have dinner. Like, basic needs. Give them a fucking snack. It is not a big deal. Like goldfish, pretzels, anything. Oh, I need goldfish sometimes. Like, give me goldfish.
Not just when I do something that makes you happy. I should not have to perform tricks to get a goldfish.
A Skittle.
That is Olive's job and Olive's job only. And even then, she's like, all I have to do is be here.
Right. The trick is I'm so cute.
Her trick is wait. Oh, wait. She does that all the time.
Right.
That's true. She only has one eye.
She only has one eye. It's true. So, anyway, yeah, I might be a little bit more on the pessimistic end of America's education system at this point in time. However,
Do you want to get more pessimistic? Do we want to talk about how the education system, it actually just doesn't exist to educate individuals? It exists to create compliant workers. Do we want
to go even further
act as a pipeline to our prison population?
And how we're asking teachers and school staff to perform more than they were ever trained to do. We're asking them to basically hold society up like this and like occasionally get a pizza party for themselves because they didn't quit that week. Like society is asking educators to do too much. And while I'm so grateful for the different, I think you and I, Kayla, both are in schools that have, if I have to guess, universal free breakfast and lunch. I'm grateful for it, but that should not have to fall into the school's hands. Yeah.
I don't think
it shouldn't have to.
If it also maybe shouldn't be selective. Maybe that should be universal, period.
Yes. Yes. Also that.
Yeah. If people are watching and they are not tapped into anybody in the educational system, or they don't have family members
in hug one of them. They need a hug.
Well, I just want them to know and understand that truly, like, the state of American education is in the process of collapsing in the next 5 years. Like, and the people that are currently in it are holding the weight of that and see it coming. And like, we can only say so much. We can only tell you so much. And it's not good.
No. And it is difficult to go to a job that you do have such love and care for the people that are there, and then have organizations such as Moms for Liberty meetings and basically say that you're like going to do something nefarious to their child. It just, but then they want you to do, Moms for Liberty specifically wants you as an educator to do everything, but also do nothing at the same time.
No, they want you to do everything the way they want you to do it.
Yeah. But that's also not a healthy way for anyone to live.
No.
Like, we can't do everything. I can barely hold it down by myself, let alone do everything for everyone else, And I think that in specifically the role that I have, it's not just being a caretaker of children, it's being a caretaker of colleagues, it's being a caretaker of parents, and it is too much for one person. And when you said like the organizational aspect on that, just the systemic, I don't know. Yeah, I was totally like blind-eyed, bushy-tailed, like, I'm gonna change the world. That's not gonna happen.
It's not gonna happen.
It's not. As a precious gray streak in my hair is telling me, like, it's stressful.
Just in terms of life, like sort of veering off work, I had a relative who had not seen me for quite some time, who saw me in the spring for the first time after a while, and she was like, "You got so gray." I'm like, "Do you know what kind of shit I've been dealing with?" Like, of course I got gray.
It's true.
I lost it.
Lost it.
So, fun fact, this actually happened this week. To me, it's a great story. Like, you got to know me. You got to know my personality. Like, I'm not the greatest in self-care when it comes to my hair. Like, I just let it grow out. I don't really care about roots, the whole 9 yards. I head to the main office. My principal is talking to my social worker, and I sit down to like wait in line. He's in the middle of talking to the social worker. He turns to me, he goes, "You got some gray in there." And then just like continued back to the conversation. And I love my boss. I love my boss to death. I thought it was hilarious. And the look on my social worker's face was just like, "You can't say that to a woman." And I was laughing. And I was like, yeah, well, this gray streak goes with like the wrinkles that are happening on my face now. He's like, what wrinkles? I was like, it's these wrinkles. It's like the sympathetic eyebrow wrinkles because my eyebrows are always up in sympathy with all of the stories and shit that adults and children alike are telling me. And he's like, well, I don't have those. I was like, yeah, because you're not sympathetic. You have like the angry eyebrow wrinkles from like, he's like, oh yeah, because I got to do the discipline around here. I'm like, yeah. He's like, I got to work it. And so then he's walking around the main office, like raising his eyebrows. He's like, am I getting them? Am I getting the wrinkles? You know, these are the battle scars, you know, that we end up wearing from the day in and day out of this world that we live in, you know?
Yeah. And this is also why it is important that we have other outlets to do stuff. I mean, I can't make every day, all day be about children in some aspect, especially because I have one living in my own home who's been texting me from his watch. You know, I can't only do stuff about kids all day. I have to have a couple things that are just for me. And even in terms of like what I make, I just made a bunch of Christmas ornaments and I'll give those away, but I do not make people things either for the most part. I make things for me and I keep them because like I never know if anyone's going to appreciate that stuff as much as I'm going to and as much as like I had to work to make it.
It was really, really empowering to start making my own clothes this year. And so that is something that I have found, like, again, as a gift to myself in the sense of like, I can make my own clothes. Not that they necessarily fit me that well. They're definitely not perfect, but like, do they bring me joy? Absolutely. And that is all I can ask of a project, you know?
I think
that's really what it's about.
The joy.
No, you can.
I was just going to say, like, sometimes we just need a little, we need some joys to offset the terrors, you know?
Yeah.
And the terrors are going to continue regardless, as we have well established here. And therefore it is a revolutionary act to carve out space.
That's like one of the terrors. Yeah.
Those are the terrors. Those are the terrors.
It's gonna be great.
It will happen regardless.
And if I can say too, I mean, this is fine. This will work itself out. But honestly, one of the joys as a yarn dyer, and something that I did not expect, is the joy of bringing others joy through my creations. And like, you know, not that I necessarily wanted or needed people's feedback to be like, oh my gosh, your stuff is gorgeous. In fact, anytime someone tells me that, I am still in shock that people like actually like the things that I make. But there's something to be said about providing the crafting material for other people to make things that are going to bring them joy.
Yeah.
You know, and that to me, again, when you talk about the elements of community and gifting, like that's a gift in and of itself. Because yeah, anyone can go to Michael's and buy stuff, which is again important. I have a shit ton of Michael's yarn sitting on my yarn wall over here. Like we all need that. But when it comes to like the independent yarn dye stuff, in fact, this monstrosity is actually was actually dyed by a dyer in Austria when I went there this summer. And I Googled the shit out of any like local yarn shop of whatever city we were in. There was one like 1.2 kilometers away. So I'm like busting and I'm like trying to get there. And there's a whole rack of like indie yarn dyers and options. And I'm like, I'm picking up. Then like what joy, not at this moment, but like what joy this brings me from something that they created. And it's going to be forever in a sweater. Like, yay, you know?
I have one thing to say that reminds me that I'm taking it back to the individual who told me I have attachment issues because, as I've said, I cannot get over it. But also,
you should have been like, I know.
I'm like, right. like awareness is the first step, for starters, but also in a twist of events, unequivocally they were probably correct, because this is another thing that I said yesterday, which was I want an effective method of collection of my cat's hair and a tool that spins it for me into yarn so that then I can create something. Keep in mind, I am allergic to cats. This will cause me pain. But I want something to be created of them so that I will never lose them.
Listen, we need to get you like a carding machine, first of all. So we can put all that hair together. And then you need to like take it off the carder and you need to get it spun into cat hair yarn.
Yep. That's a thing. I've seen people do husky hair. So people do it for their dogs.
Right.
It's not too far off base.
Right.
You should have asked, like, what do you want me to do? Get them taxidermied? Would you rather that?
Right. I could. I will. I mean, that's why I got Dolly tattooed on me. I was like, I cannot bear to live in a world where I do not have a remnant of this angel. And so even though she's only 4, I need to memorialize her forever.
Hey, I don't have the paw print with the purple flowers for Violet for nothing.
Right.
And I got that while she was still alive too.
Right.
Pet relationships are so crucial to like being a decent human. They're so powerful and they're so healing for a lot of things. So you attach all you want. Like, it's good.
That's what I'm saying.
They're there for a reason.
Right?
I mean, it's okay. You could be doing way worse. There's worse shit on the local news. You could be doing way worse.
Way worse.
Way worse.
You're not the guy in Enola who was like trafficking body parts.
So true.
You're good.
Yep.
You're good for now. But yeah, so I think we have come to a good place to draw this to a close, since we also only have so much daylight left. I am still decorating my house with a small child, and I want to make sure that all of my glass ornaments don't get destroyed. So I can deal with that.
Into that. Well, thank you for giving me a chance to work on this sweater that I haven't touched in a hot second. So thanks. How's your God Loves Bag situation? We got God what?
So I have a poorly outlined heart that I'm going to fill in with rainbow yarn across the. So we've got heart. So it's going to be rainbow, and then we'll get fags later. You can always find fags, you know?
I like it. My socks coming.
So cute.
Mwah.
Love it. Well, Joey and Pam, thank you so much for having me. This has been so life-giving. Like, I feel so awake and energized to go about the rest of my day. Go make some sweet potatoes or something. I don't know.
Ooh, love.
Ooh. Yes, thank you for being on, and we will be around in January with topics that I don't even know yet. We have a bunch written down, so we'll figure it out.
Can't wait. Excellent. Well, thank you again. It's been a pleasure hanging out with you guys.
Thank you.
Good to meet you. Thank you.
I'm going to stop recording if I can stop that.